Christmas Eve at Dad's house always felt like a performance review disguised as family dinner. This year, my half-brother Jake was home from his MBA program, ready to showcase his Goldman Sachs internship success. David, Katherine, Dad's wife, greeted me with her trademark smile that never reached her eyes. "We weren't sure you'd make it." "Why wouldn't I?" "Well, you professors are so busy with your research projects." I found everyone gathered around the fireplace, where Jake held court about his summer on Wall Street. "The deals we worked on were worth hundreds of millions," Jake announced. "They offered me a position starting at 140 base, plus bonuses that could double that." Dad whistled approvingly. "Now that's a real career. What about you, David? Still teaching undergrads?" "Graduate students mostly. And research." "Right, research." Jake nodded like he was humoring a child. "What kind again?" "Theoretical physics. Quantum mechanics and particle physics." Katherine leaned forward politely. "That sounds complex. Does it pay well?" Dad jumped in. "Jake's going to make close to $300,000 his first year. You've been at the university 8 years making what, $50,000? It's competitive for my field." "How much exactly?" Katherine pressed. The familiar heat rose in my chest. "It's fine." Jake laughed. "I looked it up once. Associate professors make like 70,000. David's doing okay, but it's not wealth-building money." Dad shook his head sadly. "All that education, all that intelligence, and for what? To live paycheck to paycheck teaching theories with no practical application." "Physics has plenty of practical applications." "Like what?" Katherine challenged. "When has quantum mechanics ever made anyone money?" How could I explain that my research was revolutionizing quantum computing? That tech giants were licensing my theoretical frameworks? That my work appeared in classified government applications? "It's mostly theoretical," I said instead. "See?" Jake grinned. "In the real world, you have to produce results that matter. You can't just think about abstract concepts and expect people to pay you." Dad nodded. "Jake's right. Look at him, barely out of school and earning more than most people at their career peak. That's because he chose a field where intelligence actually makes a difference." The implication stung. I hadn't chosen a field where my intelligence mattered. "Don't get me wrong," Dad continued. "Having a PhD is impressive. But at some point you need to think about building wealth, starting a family, buying real estate." "I have a house." Katherine laughed. "That rental near campus? David, that's barely more than a dorm room. Jake's looking at Manhattan condos worth more than you'll make in a decade." "I'm happy with my choices." Dad leaned forward with his truth-telling expression. "Are you though? Because from where I sit, you're wasting your potential. You could have been anything. A doctor, lawyer, engineer at a real company. Instead, you're playing with theories nobody cares about." "Who benefits from your work?" Katherine asked pointedly. From their perspective, I spent days in an ivory tower thinking abstract thoughts while Jake prepared for real success in the real world. "It advances human knowledge," I said weakly. Jake snorted. "That's academic speak for, it doesn't matter but makes me feel important." Katherine nodded. "Such a shame. All that intelligence and education, and what do you have to show for it? Papers nobody reads and a salary that barely pays bills." "I pay my bills fine." "Do you?" Dad's voice sharpened. "I remember helping with car repairs last year. And Katherine loaned you conference registration money." The reminder stung because it was true. Academic conferences were expensive, and sometimes I needed help to present my quantum computing research internationally. I paid that back. "Of course," Katherine said quickly. "But at 33, you shouldn't need help with work expenses." Jake leaned back smugly. "This is why I chose finance. Real money, real opportunities, real impact." "Real impact," Dad repeated approvingly. "Making a difference people can see and measure." "Absolutely worthless," Dad declared, standing up. "That's what your career amounts to, David. Absolutely worthless." Katherine nodded with obvious satisfaction. Jake looked uncomfortable but said nothing. 8 years of graduate school, 8 years as a professor, and what do you have? Papers nobody reads, research nobody cares about, lifestyle requiring family loans. The words hit like physical blows. Something deep inside me broke. Not just patience or pride, but hope that my family would ever understand what I was building. "You're probably right," I said quietly. Dad blinked, surprised. I am. My work probably doesn't matter to most people. My salary isn't impressive by your standards. My lifestyle seems disappointing compared to Jake's trajectory. Katherine leaned forward, sensing victory. But I love solving problems never solved before. I love discovering things about the universe nobody has known. I love when experiments confirm theories. Love doesn't pay mortgages, Dad said dryly. That's when my phone rang. Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, MIT president and Nobel Committee Physics Panel chair. The decision wasn't supposed to be announced until tomorrow. Excuse me, I need to take this. Of course, Katherine muttered. Always something more important than family. I stepped into the hallway. Dr. Morrison? David, I couldn't wait until tomorrow. I'm calling to personally congratulate you on being awarded this year's Nobel Prize in Physics. The words didn't register. Could you repeat that? The Nobel Committee selected you for your groundbreaking quantum field theory applications to computing systems. Your research has fundamentally changed how we understand quantum processes. You're the youngest physics laureate in 30 years. My legs felt weak. Are you certain? Very certain. Official announcement tomorrow morning, but major media outlets are being contacted tonight. The prize includes $1 million plus recognition that your work represents one of this century's most significant physics advances. $1 million? Plus royalties on commercial applications. Several tech companies are already licensing your research for quantum computing development. I could hear my family still discussing Jake's promising career and my disappointing choices. Dr. Morrison, when will this be public? Press release at 6 a.m. But CNN and The Times will run stories within the hour. This is huge news. Youngest laureate in decades working on theory that could reshape technology. When I returned to the living room, they were discussing Jake's Manhattan apartment hunting. Everything all right? Dad asked without looking up. That was MIT's president. She called to inform me I've been awarded this year's Nobel Prize in Physics. The conversation stopped immediately. You what? Jake's mouth fell open. The Nobel Prize. For my quantum field theory work. Dad's eggnog glass slipped from his hand and exploded against the hardwood floor. You won the Nobel Prize? Katherine whispered. The committee selected me for this year's award. Official announcement tomorrow morning. Jake shook his head like waking from a dream. The actual Nobel Prize? The biggest award in science. That's the one. Dad stared at broken glass. How is that possible? Because my worthless research apparently represents one of the most significant advances in theoretical physics this century. My phone buzzed. CNN wants emergency interview tonight. I showed them the text. Media already knows. International news by morning. Dad looked up from the glass. David, I don't understand. How long have you known? Nominated 6 months ago. Committee decided last week. First I heard about their choice. What do you get? Jake asked faintly. $1 million, plus recognition as one of the world's leading physicists. MIT's offering me a full professorship with my own lab. $1 million? Katherine repeated. Plus royalties on commercial applications. Several tech companies are licensing my research. Complete silence except Christmas music from the kitchen. I should head home, I said, standing. Interviews to prepare for. University wants to coordinate a press conference. Dad stood too, crunching through glass. David, wait. I need to apologize. For what? For calling your work worthless. For not understanding what you were accomplishing. For being completely wrong. Katherine wiped tears away. I feel so stupid. We thought you were struggling while you were making history. Jake still looked stunned. You're going to be in textbooks. Already am. My equations are taught in graduate programs worldwide. Dad sat heavily. Why didn't you tell us? Because every time I tried, you changed the subject or made clear you weren't interested. You decided my career was a failure. We should have listened, Katherine said quietly. My phone rang again. New York Times reporter. I really need to go. Thanks for dinner. Jake, congratulations on Goldman Sachs. Dad walked me to the door, still stunned. I'm proud of you. Should have said that years ago. Thank you. Can we see you over holidays? Maybe you could explain your research properly this time. I looked back at my family, staring like I'd transformed into someone they'd never met. I'd like that. But next time try listening when I talk about work. You might be surprised. Driving home through snow, my phone buzzed constantly. Reporters, colleagues, administrators. By the time I reached my little rental, my story was trending on social media. 6 hours ago I'd been the family disappointment. Now I was a Nobel laureate recognized worldwide for research that would influence technology for generations. The recognition felt hollow though. They respected me now because of external validation, not because they'd ever tried to understand the work itself. My phone rang one more time. My graduate advisor Dr. Sarah Chin. David. Just heard the news. This is incredible. Still doesn't feel real. I'm so proud. Your work deserves this recognition. You've revolutionized quantum mechanics understanding. Couldn't have done it without your guidance. Nonsense. You had the vision and brilliance. I just helped focus it. She paused. How are you feeling? Grateful. Overwhelmed. Maybe a little sad. Sad. My family spent the evening calling my work worthless. Then I won the Nobel Prize. Hard not to feel like their opinion only changed because of external validation. Some people only recognize excellence when it comes with official recognition. That doesn't diminish your work's value or the years building toward this moment. After hanging up, I sat in my living room thinking about the evening. In 12 hours, my life would be completely different. Media interviews, speaking engagements, job offers from world's top universities. My phone buzzed with texts. Jake, Googled your research. No idea what it means but sounds incredible. Sorry for being an ass. Katherine, embarrassed about how we treated you. You've accomplished something amazing. Dad, I love you, son. Sorry it took a Nobel Prize for me to say that properly. I smiled and put the phone away. Tomorrow would bring more attention than I'd ever wanted. But tonight, for the first time in years, I felt truly proud of my path. My work wasn't worthless after all. It never had been. The world was about to find out exactly how much it was worth.